It was the end of winter, 2018. I was studying at a high school in a small town in the United States. The school's name was Westbrook High School. From the outside, it looked completely normal, but the moment you stepped inside, you could feel a strange silence, like the walls were hiding something. I usually went home right after classes, but that day, everything was different. I had detention. It was around 5 p.m. The entire school was almost empty. The sound of my footsteps echoed through the hallways. Somewhere in the distance, a locker slammed shut, but I knew no one else was supposed to be there at that time. By the time detention ended, it was already evening. The school lights were turning off one by one. I was walking down the hallway to leave when suddenly I heard a faint sound behind me. Talk, talk, talk. It felt like someone was slowly walking behind me. I stopped. The sound stopped too. I started walking again and again. Talk, talk, talk. My heart started pounding. I quickly turned around. No one. The entire hallway was empty. I tried to convince myself, maybe I'm just imagining things. But then, the door of a classroom on my right slowly started to open by itself. Creak. The sound was so slow and unnatural that my whole body went cold. I knew that room had been closed for a long time. I had heard that a few years ago, a girl had taken her own life inside that classroom. My feet stopped on their own. The door opened fully. Inside, complete darkness. Then, suddenly, a cold wind rushed out and hit my face. It was freezing, colder than anything I had ever felt. And then, I heard it. A girl crying softly. Whew, whew. My throat went dry. I slowly walked toward the door. That was my mistake. As I looked inside, I saw a girl sitting at the very back bench of the classroom. Her long black hair covered her entire face, messy, tangled, unnatural. Her body was bent in a strange way, like her bones weren't in the right place. With a trembling voice, I said, "Hey, what are you doing here?" She didn't respond. She just kept crying. Then, slowly, she lifted her head. I will never forget that face. Her eyes were completely black, no white at all. Her face was pale, her lips cracked, and around her neck were deep, dark marks, like someone had strangled her. She looked at me and gave a twisted, unnatural smile. Then, suddenly, she stood up. The way she stood, it wasn't human. It felt like her joints were bending the wrong way. She started walking toward me. Talk, talk, talk. That same sound. I slowly stepped back, but the closer she got, the more my body froze. Suddenly, she sprinted. In 1 second, she was right in front of me. I screamed and fell backwards, and the next moment, everything went black. When I woke up, I was outside the school. The security guard was giving me water. He said, "You went into that room again, didn't you?" Confused, I asked, "What do you mean?" He looked at me and said, "No one goes into that classroom. Everyone knows what happened there." My voice shook as I asked, "What happened?" He paused, then said, "A girl ended her life in that room. Since then, people say something watches them from inside. After that, I never walk alone in that hallway anymore. But the most terrifying part is, A few days later, when I looked at my school ID photo, I froze, because behind me, slightly blurred, she was standing there. I was working the night shift at an old private hospital in Chicago. From the outside, it looked completely modern, but as soon as you stepped inside, there was a strange smell, a mix of old medicine, bleach, and something rotten. From day one, I felt uneasy, but I endured it for work. That night was Saturday, almost 2 a.m. Most of the patients were asleep, the corridors empty, only the distant sound of a monitor beep, beep, echoed through the halls. I was walking past the ICU on the 3rd floor. Suddenly, a door slowly creaked open. Creak, all by itself. I froze. Room number 309. The strange thing was, this room had been closed for months. A patient had mysteriously died there. I told myself maybe the wind caused the door to open, but the problem was all the ICU windows were sealed. I slowly approached the door, and what I saw inside made my blood run cold. A figure was sitting on the bed. Even in the dark, I could tell it was human, but something was very wrong. I said, "Hello? Who are you? This room is closed." No answer. I stepped a little closer, then it slowly lifted its head. What I saw, I still can't forget. Its eyes were completely black, no whites at all. Its face unnaturally long, and dried blood streaked down from the corners of its mouth. Its skin was so pale, it looked like it had been dead for ages.
A cold smile. Then it spoke, very slowly. "You, why are you standing in my place?" My body froze. I wanted to step back, but my legs wouldn't move. Suddenly, all the lights in the room went out. Complete darkness in the corridor. Only my own breathing and the distant beep, beep of the monitor. I could feel it wasn't on the bed anymore because a cold breath brushed right against my ear. It whispered, "Now you'll stay here." I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Then the lights flickered back on. I was standing alone, room 309 empty. Everything seemed normal. The next day, I checked the hospital records. The patient who had died in room 309 was named David Miller. And the most terrifying part? His time of death was exactly 2 a.m., the exact time I saw him. One more thing. CCTV footage showed that at 2 a.m., I had walked into room 309, but I never came out.
When I was a child, I spent every summer vacation at my grandfather's house in the village. Far away from the city's chaos, his old mud house stood alone, surrounded by green paddy fields and dirt paths. At first, everything seemed normal. The calls of birds, the morning fog, and playing around while listening to Grandpa's stories. But one afternoon, when Grandpa and my mother had gone out to work, I found myself drawn to the door of the empty room. Grandpa had always warned me, it's better if you don't go in there alone, but I couldn't resist my curiosity. As I placed my hand on the door, a cold breeze brushed against me, almost as if the room itself was breathing. Slowly, I pushed the door open, and what I saw made my blood run cold. The room was dark, with only a faint light coming through a small window. On the floor, among the dust, were red stains that looked like dried blood. I stepped closer, and that's when I saw it, an indistinct shadow moving toward me. Its face was completely black, and its eyes glowed faintly red in the dim light. I froze. The shadow moved closer, and suddenly I heard a whisper near my ear. "You shouldn't be here." I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I stumbled back, and the door slammed shut on its own. I was trapped inside, alone in the darkness, and then the shadow vanished. For the next few nights, I couldn't sleep. I kept a small light on and stayed alert. Sometimes I heard the faint clinking of glass or felt icy drafts that brushed against my skin, as if someone was moving around me. One day, I mustered the courage to check under the floor. I discovered a small cutout section containing some old newspapers, eerie drawings of shadowy figures, and a small metal box. When I opened the box, a chilling breeze burst out and everything in the room shook violently. That's when I realized there was something in this room that had never been normal. Villagers called this place a haunted house, but no one spoke of it openly. From that night on, I never went into the empty room alone. Finally, vacation ended and I returned to the city. But even now, sitting in my room, I sometimes feel someone watching me, just like those dark, glowing eyes. I recount these events when I tell this story, and the fear still lingers, mingled with my very blood.
I still can't forget that night. Even now, thinking about it makes my body go cold. This happened about 2 years ago when I was living in a small town in the United States. Because of my job, I often had to travel outside the city, sometimes through long stretches of forest roads. That night was just like any other, except it turned into something I'll never be able to explain. I got a bit late leaving work, so instead of taking the longer highway, I decided to take a shortcut through the jungle road. At first, everything felt completely normal. Tall trees on both sides, a narrow paved road in the middle, and complete darkness beyond the reach of my headlights. The only sound was the faint chirping of insects. After driving for about 20 minutes, I suddenly noticed something that made me slow down. A small tea shop, right in the middle of the forest. I frowned. I had driven this road many times before, but I had never seen any shop here, especially not this deep inside the woods. The shop looked wrong. It was made of old wood with a rusty tin roof and a dim yellow light hanging in front. The strange thing was, the light was swaying slightly, even though there was no wind at all. At that moment, I felt tired, and oddly, I really wanted a cup of tea, so I pulled over. The moment I stepped out of the car, I realized something was off. All the sounds had stopped. No insects, no wind, nothing, just pure silence. I slowly walked toward the shop. As I entered, I saw an old man standing behind the counter. His face wasn't clearly visible because the light was behind him, casting his features in shadow. I said, "Can I get a cup of tea?" He nodded slowly, but didn't say a single word. He started preparing the tea, but something felt very strange. I didn't see any stove, no fire, no kettle, no sound at all. Yet within a few seconds, he placed a cup in front of me.
The moment I touched it, my hand trembled. The tea was ice cold. I looked at him, confused. "This is cold." That's when he looked directly at me for the first time. His eyes, I will never forget them. Completely white, no pupils, no life. In a slow, dry voice, he said, "Everyone drinks cold tea here." My heart dropped. I immediately put the cup down. "No, I'm good." I turned around and rushed back to my car, but when I tried to start it, Nothing. Once, twice, 3 times, it wouldn't start. Then, without thinking, I glanced at the rearview mirror, and what I saw? The old man was standing outside the shop, but not where he was before. He was right behind my car now, slowly walking closer. My whole body froze. Just then, the engine suddenly started. I didn't wait a second. I slammed the accelerator and sped away from that place as fast as I could. After about 10 minutes of driving, I gathered enough courage to look back. There was nothing. No one. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination, stress. Maybe I was too tired. But the real horror came the next day. I drove down the same road again, this time in daylight. I searched carefully for that tea shop, but there was nothing there. No shop, no structure, nothing. At the exact spot, there was only an old broken wooden sign lying on the ground. I got out of the car and walked toward it. The faded writing on it said, "Last Stop Tea, closed since 1987. And below that, in smaller letters, "Owner died in a fire inside the shop." A chill ran down my spine because I clearly remember there was no fire in that shop last night, and the tea was ice cold. That's something that really happened to me, and to this day, I never take that road alone at night again.